So first step is to remove the old fletchings. On this one we have a blazer just for demonstration purposes. If you have a brand new shaft, obviously you don't have to do this. This one's really old and I didn't fletch this one, so it kind of comes off. Other thing is you're going to have some residue from the fletching glue. So I like to take a razor blade and really carefully just kind of slide it along and you'll take those little nubs off. You don't want to dig into the carbon at all. Cool, that's all done. So you can see that's all one piece, nice and clean. Final step for this is take a little bit of, this is about 400 grit, super fine, and just to rough it up. That's going to help anything that bonds to it. It's also going to get rid of any residue you have remaining on it. And that's that. It's not water, it's actually isopropyl alcohol. 98%, we just bought in a really big thing, so it's easier to handle than this. So next step is to dab cloth, clean your shaft with it, and then you can actually just like flick it in the air like this. And so since isopropyl and even what's it called? Acetone. And even acetone will dry super quickly. So you'll see that just helps get all the grease off, and it'll be a nice dull.
Gives you a nice clean stick, really.
Absolutely. So that's going to help your fletchings and your glue adhere to it. If you don't want to do wraps, that's fine. But we're doing wraps. We're going to show you how to do wraps. So if you're not going to do wraps, just skip. Like we said, we're going to do some fletchings and wraps. These are Cam's wraps. Nice Hunter orange. These are made by Boning. The good trick about wraps is to leave like a 1/4 of an inch gap between the knock and carbon, and that allows you to see if there's any cracks that come in the future. So you're just going to touch lightly, make sure it's lined up, nice and even, and then in one motion you're just going to roll the whole thing. When that's done, you're going to take your finger over the seam, press hard, and as you see, it's nice and tight, no gaps, looks nice. Then take our fletching jig, this one's by Martin, and put our arrow in it. Cool. We've got two different wings here. One's a straight blade, one's a helical. We always like helical, we're going to show you how to do that, but basically they're the exact same setup for when you do what you do to the arrow. Got some blazers here, bunch of different companies out there for fletches. Me personally, I use AEs by Knock On. I like them a lot. Here's some old Twisters, Bone Collector Edition. Those are really cool. They have little grooves on them. And I need a white blazer. So step one is there's notches along the whole fletching jig on the wing, so you're always going to use the same one. I like the first big gap. That gives me about an inch from my carbon to the start of my fletching. So I set that in there. Then I take my cloth, which still has acetone or isopropyl on it, wipe down so any grease that you got on there is off. Cam and I both use Boning Platinum, super easy stuff. Bonds well to carbon, bonds really well to wraps. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to put a tiny little bead across the whole thing. So before you check this, what you need to do is figure out, since you put a wrap on here, there's going to be a gap, or sorry, there's going to be an overlap of where your wrap sits over itself. So you don't want to do that on the upper side of the wrap. Like if this was your wrap and it comes over like this, you don't want to stick it on this side because it's more tendency to pull off the wrap. So what you actually want to do is stick it on this side, the underside, just below the gap. So how you check that is you can spin it. I can see my gap right now. I know this is going to work perfectly. So I always like to go from the back, push forward. Once I got it clamped in there, give it a little bit of even pressure. Now you can just let it sit for a couple minutes, and I'll show you how to do the rest of them. So anyways, this has been sitting for a few minutes. Depends on how fast your glue dries. It'll usually say a recommendation on it. So just follow that. When you take the fletching jig off, press the wing so you don't rip the whole fletching off. So press and then slide out. So as you can see, there's one. Make sure you know where you put it in. And so we're going through for a 3 fletch. We actually have the jig for a 4 fletch and an offset different 3. Basically have different grooves on them. As you can see, what it allows you to do is that one has 4 clicks, so 4 fletch. So this one's a 3 fletch and 1 click away, because if you go forward towards the jig, you'll actually hit the fletching on the piece of metal there, and that can actually rip off your fletching. So towards you, there's the solid click. Repeat. So
line that up as your line again.
Yep, same line as always.
Wipe down.
Wipe down. What's the next step?
Get our glue on there.
Nailed it. Nice little bead.
Nailed that one right on the head.
This one goes on. Boom. Let it set, and we'll do the next one in a bit. So we just finished our second fletch, but I just wanted to show you before I forget. Inside here, there's a groove that sits in between your actual knock. So if the groove is with the fletching, that's going to be your cock feather. So if you want to do a different color cock feather, that's the one you do it on. See, if you were to do it, I'll show you the arrow. So if it's in line with the actual groove, if you follow that line, it would say that this one's cock feather. So if you want to do it on this one, you would want it to do where the knock groove is open on the top and facing down that one. So we're just going to finish this up, but that's how you would do it if you want to do cock feather, different color. So the 2 are done. We're just going to do the final fletching right here. With boning platinum, always put your lid on or else it leaks glue everywhere.
And it sticks to everything pretty well.
Yeah, I already rotated the jig, so not worried about it. Press, and once that one dries, you'll have a full fletch arrow. There's about one more step that we like to do at the end, but that's basically it. So all 3 fletchings are dried now. We like to do one more little step, which is to add a daub of glue on the back and the front. Basically just touch it.
And what are we doing this for?
This is going to help the fletching stay on. Any gaps you have in the front and the back are actually going to be easier to get tears and your fletchings rip off. So just a light dab on all of them, and then...
So this could be just anything from shooting in the bush, whether you're shooting, shooting at a target and it sinks the arrow all the way through.
Yeah, or even wind, just from shooting through.
Lessen the chances of you having to be refletching arrows. Not that that's a bad thing.
No, this is kind of fun, little thing to do. But it is, that's it, and that's let them dry, and then you're good to go shoot.
So that concludes our archery fletch for your arrows. If anyone's got any more questions, feel free to ask. If there's something we missed, point it out, and we'll address it. And we will see you guys this week for the super cool podcast that we're gonna have with Antler River. Take care, guys.